I did want to bring on Jon Peters for a moment. And let me just say, so Jon, now he's been on the platform. He did 5 weeks. He's going into his 6th week. Jon, he had run ads in the past through Facebook. So he had that already set up. Now, it wasn't for insurance. It was for, I believe it was for a different business he had run. But because he had ads, he didn't get stuck with the Facebook ads budget limitations. So he was able to start right off the bat spending, basically $100 even more, I'm pretty sure. So Jon actually, and I'm bringing that up because he has been averaging at least 5,000 of AP every week, right from the start, right from the get-go. So I do want to bring Jon on. Jon, if you are there and you could unmute yourself, I would appreciate that, man.
Hey, Doug, can you hear me?
All right. Yes, we can hear you loud and clear. And thank you for coming on, man. I appreciate it.
Yeah, no problem. I did. So I was with a previous IMO before I came on board with Doug, and I'll say kind of unfortunately, but so I learned a hard way for a year in a lot of different ways. And one of them was I learned a hard way through Facebook marketing. And I watch a lot of YouTube, which is how I found Doug. And so when I'm just driving down the road, started off face to face the first year, I just put on a YouTube video. But I also came across this guy who I didn't do a ton of research. That was on my fault, but I spent like, I don't know, more than twice the amount that Brandon charges to set up. And I lost more than that on the leads. So I didn't come anywhere close to making any money off of this. So when Doug was telling me about what Brandon's doing and shared his numbers with me, I just thought, there's no way he's getting leads at this cost, and they're going to your calendar and scheduling. It just does not make any sense. I mean, I was paying, the guy I was using previously was a nice guy, but his follow-up, was, hey, I'll call you once a week. Then went to twice a week, and then he just kind of ghosted me. And I'm sure he'd probably answer eventually if I kept calling him, but I spent a lot of money with this guy. I was probably paying $30 a lead to not go to my calendar. And then now I'm paying $5 a lead with 17 presentations going into today. I had 25, I think, last Thursday, and it's just growing and growing. And all we're doing is calling people who scheduled appointments on our calendar. Like I still don't understand how Brandon's doing this, but we got a diamond in the rough here. And especially when he first sets you up, he's constantly on it, and he's monitoring your ads, your lead cost. I mean, really, Doug said there's a guy paying like 10 grand or something for the service. I just feel like Brandon should really jack his price up. I'm glad he didn't do it when I paid for it, because I've been more hesitant, but I'm telling you, this is a diamond in the rough. I also had a conference call with another guy. What was his name? I forget his name.
Anthony?
Bobby V.
Okay.
And I'm like, after one call, I'm like, I'm sure what this guy's doing is right, but he didn't even try and close me, but two, he just acted like he didn't have time for me. And after losing my rear end once, I'm not going to do it again with a guy who doesn't have any time. So I'm telling you, whatever Brandon does, do it, because he knows what he's doing.
There you go. So, all right. So let's talk a little bit about your ads budget. So what did you do like your very first week? Just honest numbers. What was your ads budget your first week doing this?
All right. Hang on. Let me pull it up. So very first week, let me go to April. I spent $502.62.
Okay. So guys, this is what I was talking about. Jon wasn't limited with that $50 a day budget. He was able to start with $100. And so, and I've seen his numbers. So, I'm actually going to show you an example of what he did last week also here towards the end of this call, which is very impressive. $755 he spent on leads, and he wrote, geez, I think it was like right at 8,000. Is that right, Jon?
Yeah, just shy. I was like $13 shy.
Okay, there you go. So let me ask you about your schedule. I'm going to pick your brain a little bit here. What time is your first appointment, and what time is your last appointment? What kind of hours do you work? And I know it's Monday through Friday normally.
Correct. So my first call is set up in the system is 9 o'clock. On Mondays, it doesn't seem like too many people are taking the bait, but what I'll do is I'll try and schedule, if it's not a 9 o'clock call, I'll do a 9:30 call with somebody I need to follow up from last week. And my last appointment in the system is set up for 5 o'clock, but I'm at the point now where I can't meet all the meetings that I'm scheduling, because sometimes you have 4 or 5 at a certain hour. And so I'll meet back up. I'll call those people a few times after 5 o'clock. So not unusual to have my last, get off the phone at 7:30 sometimes.
Okay. And that does sound about right. So what was your process of scaling each week? Because we talk, and guys, when I say scaling, it's just like that. You're climbing something. You're going up. You're increasing. If you could kind of describe to me what you did, from that first week to today.
So after the first week, it was pretty good. I think Brandon and I looked at the data for maybe 2 weeks tops, and then we were scaling after 2 weeks, because I didn't want to scale when I had a bunch of guaranteed issue business written. So I needed more cash flow, but we saw it was coming in, and when anything I basically got paid off of, other than once I paid my own personal expenses, I put back in the business. So we scaled pretty quick. It went from, I think, 100 to 175, maybe within, I think is that second week. And then now we're at 300.
Okay. Wow. Okay. Excellent.
Assuming Facebook approves it.
Okay. So so I didn't realize we did make that jump. Okay, great. Wow. I'm curious to see what this week will bring. If they do approve it, that's the thing. You requested it, so we'll see if they do. I'll ask you the same thing I asked Kelly at the end there. What advice would you give to somebody who is new and, maybe, they're stuck with that Facebook ads limitation of $50 per day?
You got to make the jump. You just got to do it, because it's not enough. And you're going to be treading water for a long time before your business takes off. So I know we all have different financial situations, and it's hard to commit to doing that, but you gotta start off with at least $100 a day, I think, to give yourself a chance. I don't feel like $50 is enough. And if you're doing that, well, for one, even at $100 a day, that first week or two, you're triple dialing people 7-8 times a day. And because you're going to get leads come in that aren't on your calendar, but those are going to be a majority of your sales the first 2 weeks. And, I'm at the point now to where Brandon is I can call somebody, and if they don't answer, I just call the next person that's scheduled that same time. And then if 4 or 5 no show me, then I can start triple dialing them or going through the other leads that didn't schedule on my calendar. And I'm at the point now where there are leads that I'm gonna have to look at maybe having like a junior agent or something to follow up with some of these people, because I know I'm missing business by not having time to call some of these leads that didn't really schedule an appointment on my calendar, but they still submitted a form. So when you first start, you gotta call every lead and be aggressive with them. And I thought, geez, triple dial somebody, that sounds a little pushy. Geez, 7-8 times, they're gonna think I'm crazy, but that's not it. They don't look at it that way. And you just got to get on them. And you have maybe a 24, 48-hour window tops. But as soon as you see a lead come in, when you first start, you got to call them right away. Like first 5 minutes, just call them. Call them again if they don't answer, then call them again, and then give them an hour, and then stay on them. And you're going to get majority of your sales from those sales there with a $50 a day budget, or even $100 a day, until the algorithm gets more familiar with who you're trying to market after, and then you get more and more people scheduling on your calendar.
Excellent, man, awesome, thank you. Let me ask you one more thing. because today we are talking about building rapport. Is there anything you're doing that's special or that's different or that's maybe even unique that you'd want to share about building rapport?
I don't know if my strategy is the best was great for naturally. I'm kind of a smart ass by nature, just a little bit. And so I try not to take this too serious. I try to joke around with people a little bit, but if there are people that I'm just struggling to get through and they're not saying a whole lot, I just try and share something about myself. For example, when we my text messages, my emails have that picture of my wife and my kids. So I'll say, hey, I'm sorry if my kids are home from daycare. Hey, sorry if you hear some screaming kids in the background, but my wife's bringing the kids home from daycare, or my kids are home now with me, and everybody wants to talk about kids. They love kids. Or hey, if you hear my dog barking, I got a rescue lab, and if Amazon pulls in my driveway, you're gonna hear my dog start barking. Then they'll be like, oh yeah, well, how long you had your dog, etc. So I try and tell them information about myself. Or if you're talking to a lady, yeah, I'm taking gabapentin for diabetes. Man, my grandma was taking gabapentin. She had, neuropathy, and I can imagine how sometimes that shooting pain you get up your leg is just awful. Yeah, it is. So just, I think if you're in person, it's easier to build rapport because you can see their body language. You can mirror them. If they have their hands crossed, you can cross your hands. They uncross their arms or whatever, then you can do the same thing, and you can mirror them, and you can look around their house and see what hobbies they have, etc. Here, you can't really do that. So I think you kind of need to be in rapport as much as you possibly can the entire time. Now, I'm not saying you got to just blabber on and talk about yourself. I'm not saying that, but you got to find ways to share 15 seconds about yourself or opportunities to ask them, who's your beneficiary? That's a great question. And the language is already designed. Oh, they live near you? Do you get to see your grandson much? Yeah, awesome. How many grandkids do you have? Well, that's a great opportunity to let them brag about themselves for a little bit. So I just find ways to fit in and then have them elaborate. And then some people, if they're just boring, they're probably not going to buy from me anyways if I'm not talking to you. So some of those people, I'll just try and speed up and get on to the next person. But if they're going to talk a little bit, then, that's great. Let's use that as an opportunity to get them talking so I can look at the numbers and give them some rates.
Excellent. Jon, thanks again, man. I really appreciate this. And one of the things I'll say about Jon also that I noticed listening to his recordings is he's gotten very good at doing the underwriting, at getting his pricing ready so that by the time it comes to give the pricing, there's no dead air. New agents, here's what you're going to find. You're going to do this. You're going to make your first couple of presentations, and then you're going to realize you're kind of fumbling around trying to get the pricing together. Meanwhile, all the rapport you build, if you can't keep them speaking, if you can't keep the conversation going, you're going to lose a lot of that. I've heard calls where there's 2-3+ minutes of silence, of complete silence. And it's almost deafening. It's so quiet that it's loud. So Jon's gotten really good with that. He doesn't have any of that. It's like the conversation is going the whole time. And then when it's time to get the prices, boom, he goes right into the script and boom, and hits him with the close. So again, Jon, thanks again, bro. Have a great day. I know that that you've got appointments coming up here soon. So I appreciate that you coming on for me this morning.
Yeah,
really
thank
cool.
you.
I did notice something that he mentioned there.
Yes.
So Doug, you're talking about the lapse of time, and then Jon is also talking about how the script itself kind of cues you in on what to do and when to do it. So we've got Kelly and Jon that are talking about building rapport, and both of them have mentioned that there's certain cues in the script. If you're sitting there and you're reading that script, those little gray boxes of text are reminding you to build rapport at certain points. Please pay attention to it and just pull up the script and look at it. I literally pulled up the script every single call, and I see that little box and I go, oh crap, that's right. I got to ask them about their kids and if they live close, since their beneficiary is their kids. It's a great reminder, and we can use it to follow the system, because the system is working for individuals, whether they have less than 1 week of experience and about to write their fourth policy, with $250 of ad spend, or somebody that's been doing it for 5 weeks and has written about $25,000 worth of business in 5 weeks. They're both referencing how they're using the system that's put in place and the script, which is what made me take the jump from barely breaking even, not doing so good, using these inexpensive leads, to taking the next step, which was getting the help from Doug and using his script and his system.
Yeah, I don't think I emphasize that enough, but the script's got to be followed. You cannot do your own script, especially first starting. I still read the script as I shouldn't say necessarily read, it's more of a conversation, but I still use the script every single meeting. I mean, I've never had one meeting where I have not used a script. It's a good script. You got to follow it. Now, so that's the first thing. The other thing I would say is record yourself on the script. I sent Doug my first recording, and you may not always like the feedback because you might think you're doing something different, but Doug's like, dude, you sound like you're reading it a little bit, you're just getting started, keep practicing. I thought, geez, I didn't think I sounded like I was reading it. So I listened to myself, I sounded like I was reading the script. So, you gotta be able to take certain areas instead of just reading through them, hey, usually within a few short days, that way your family has the money fast enough, and they don't have to come out of their own pockets to pay for your final needs. That's different than usually within a few short days, your family has the money fast. They don't have to come out of their own pockets to take care of your final needs. You got to enunciate some points you're trying to get across in that script.
Exactly.
To get your point, to be like, hey, don't put this on your family, in other words. So those would be two major things I would do.
That's an excellent point, John. Of course, for starting, I listened to every single call. I was like, oh, no. So yeah, it helped a lot by the third day. Yeah, absolutely. And it's already there recorded for you in the CR.
Oops, I don't know what happened. We got disconnected there.
Oh, no, I'm here.
Oh,
I just didn't want to talk too much.
Oh, okay. It's all good. All right.
But Brandon is, please listen to Brandon and Doug, all of you, because they are committed to taking their time to help you make this thing work. And yeah, it's scary to make that financial commitment, John. You're absolutely right. It's scary. But like you just said, if I take everything I'm making and I am taking care of my own budget, it's got to go back into this. Got to. Thank you.
And the beautiful thing is it's scary, but you're not paying after you get the system set up. You're not paying a lead vendor. You're not paying me. You're not paying Doug. You're paying Facebook. You're paying directly for your own customers that you get within seconds. So if you have that little bit of hesitation, yes, you're spending more money, but you're spending more money. You're investing in yourself and you're investing in your own success.
Amen.
Excellent. Good stuff, guys. Okay. So I do have a little bit of a presentation I want to go over today. And let's see if I can get this thing going. Here we go. So, real quick, as far as the tips and building rapport, one of the things that Brandon does mention to you is he shows you how to do the research, and you can also, if you think about it, before you get on the call, you've already got their date of birth. You've got, you may have even the city that they live in. And Brandon, when he sets the system up for you, he's showing you that. That's one of the things that Kelly is doing. So she's doing the research on the client. She's looking at their Facebook before she even speaks with them. So she knows what's going on with them. That's just real nice that we can do that with this type of a lead. Of course, you want to find ways of relating to your prospect and getting them to kind of feel you, so to speak. And you always, of course, I mentioned that, always keep them speaking, keep the conversation rolling while you're doing your underwriting and you're figuring out the price. And maybe even have multiple rapport topics written down by your desk. And like I would say, put them on your wall, right next to your rebuttals, your cheat sheet, and your objections. Speaking of cheat sheets, guys, let me bring this up before I forget. So on the telesales cheat sheet that I've been sending everybody, under the Aetna Ascendo product, there is no build chart. On the cheat sheet, it says, yes, there's a build chart. So maybe make a note of that. If you haven't printed your telesales cheat sheet with all the carriers on it and the health conditions, print that out, put a note. Aetna, there is, with the Ascendo product, there is no build chart, which was an error that I just kind of caught this morning. So I've been giving that to everybody. Sorry about that, guys. I really want to talk about the debit cards and the Direct Express cards because this is super important for our market. And the reason it's so important is because it's all about the perspective of how you treat a client and what's going on with their bank. Okay, so first of all, number one, if the client has a bank account, right, and they give you a debit card, and by the way, guys, you should know if the client has a checking account, a savings account, a bank account, long before you start looking up the carrier to price. You should know this because a lot of carriers, most carriers aren't taking Direct Express cards, and practically none of them are going to take a regular debit card from your bank. So all you do when they pull out that debit card, and if it's a bank card, just get the client to log into their account. We talked about that on the last training we did last week, and get their account number. Or if you have to, if for some reason you can't do that, do the three-way call to the local bank and do that. Second, Direct Express, you're going to see, those of you new, you're going to see these Direct Express cards. The client's going to tell you they've got a bank, it's called Direct Express, and all it is a debit card. These type of cards are for people who are just not responsible enough to manage the checking account. So Prosperity will take Direct Express, so at least we have a carrier that'll actually take it. Security National Life will take it also. And that stuff is mentioned like on the cheat sheet, which is nice. Now, let's talk about third. If your client has a card called Green Dot Bank or NetSpend or Chime is like one of the newer ones, and so is Go2Bank. All these are refillable debit cards that these people are buying at Walmart, at the drugstore. They're buying it at the store. And so if they're using this card to get their Social Security funds, these cards, the one thing I will say about them is they actually do have an account number attached to it. So now I'm not talking about the card on the number on the front of the card, because that's just the debit card number. These folks, most of them know how to log into their account that's connected to that card, and they will be able to give you an account number and a routing number. So, which you can also, if you Google NetSpend routing number, boom, it'll come up. So routing numbers are pretty easy to get. It's the account number that you've got to get from the client for sure. And fourth, always set up the bank draft on the exact day that the client receives their Social Security benefits. I know I bring this up just about every call, but the one question you never ask a client is, what day do you want me to set up the payment for? You never ask that. Does your doctor, when you go to your doctor and you're sick as a dog, does your doctor say, so what do you want me to prescribe you? No, he doesn't do that. Your doctor tells you what to do. You're the professional, guys. You need to tell the client when the insurance carrier is going to draft. And when you tell them, it's going to be based on the day they receive their Social Security benefits. So here's what I would say. So I'm speaking with, let's say, I don't know, client name is Mark. Mark, what day do you receive your Social Security benefits? Well, I get it on the 3rd, but do me a favor, set up the bank draft for the 5th. Guys, they're all going to do this. If you set up the bank draft for the 5th, you're going to have insufficient funds possibly on the 1st month. And now you're chasing the client. Here's the nightmare scenario is you do what the client says. You go to draft, the insurance company goes to draft the first payment. On the day they draft the first payment, that's when the policy actually goes active. That's when you actually get paid if you haven't been advanced money before that. So now you're getting advanced money that you haven't earned if the bank goes to draft the payment and the money's not there. You got to give that money back to the insurance company. And that's what's going to happen to a lot of your clients. I want to say probably most of them, if you listen to the client and you do what they tell you to do. So me, I'm saying, Mark, you know what? We can't draft it on the 5th. The way the insurance company works is they follow the Social Security billing schedule. And what they'll do is they'll draft the payment on the 3rd after you receive your money. And they actually guarantee by setting up the payment this way, you will never get an overdraft fee because of this. They guarantee it. So it can never happen. And that's the way you have to do it, guys. That's the way we do it in this business. I bring it up on just about every call because it is that important. So trusting in the system, it is super important. That's what we've been talking about here today. And it can be a little hard because here we are. We've most of you guys have never advertised on Facebook. And because of that, you're limited to a $250. The way we run the ads, you're limited to $50 a day of a budget. You're just not going to speak with many people. You may not even get a sale your first week. And that's just the truth about it. So I understand that's how the doubt starts. That's how the negativity starts to happen in our head. And now, we're not speaking with many people. We're not making a lot of presentations. And then 10 days later, when it's time to increase the budget, this other negativity kicks in. And the next thing you know, we start doubting what's going on and questioning everything. So you can't do that, guys. The next thing you know, you're blaming the leads. You're blaming the presentation. It's feeling long. I need to cut it down. It's too long. The people aren't staying on the phone. And that's when things go south. I'm showing you an example of scaling. Notice under results, this was one day, 2 different areas. Notice you got 8 leads under results for the first area and 30 in the second. And then the cost per registration for those 8 leads was over $6 each. And the one underneath was only $3 each. Now, that's because the budget was doubled. And that's why this agent was able to do this. And if you notice way on the far right side where it says reached, the ads reached the same amount of people. But what Facebook did is Facebook said, now we're going to send you with the higher budget some more buyers. And that's how the algorithms, I know that sounds kind of crazy, but that is how the algorithms work. Guys, you've all done a Google search for something. And then the next thing you know, you'll Google search for, I don't know, let's say kitchen utensils. The next thing you know, you're on Facebook and they're advertising kitchen utensils. Well, there's a reason that's happening. And that's how this works. This is Jon's numbers. I wanted to show you really quick, guys. Unfortunately, I've got another meeting to get into, but I wanted to show you really quick. Last week, Jon spent $755 on leads, okay? He walked into the week, appointment scheduled 105 total appointments for the week. That's 20 average a day. And by doing that, he made 16 presentations. So, think about it, 105 appointments scheduled, but only 16 presentations. Because he scaled, he was able to put in 10 applications and write $7,986. And interesting enough, he's got a little note here. On Friday, he was done by like 11, 12 o'clock. He only worked part of the day. So guys, you got to trust in what we're doing. I hope everybody has a great day. If you need anything, you know how to reach me. Just do your thing. And listen, when it's time to scale, don't be afraid to scale. Get your energy, your excitement, your enthusiasm going, and get on the phone and make those calls. Have a great week, everybody. We'll talk again on Thursday.